We're starting this session on the NLP platform that TechGenies has and that can be deployed to clients in a very dynamic way. And it's really an impressive platform, as you will see in a few. I'm gonna kick off by going into the agenda of what I'm going to cover. First, an introduction, and second, the data sources that and some briefing on them. Again, we're gonna move to the demo, which will be the biggest part of the presentation, and then any questions that you have. So first, what is NLP? That's a very important question. So NLP is really a field in computer science, artificial intelligence, and in computational linguistics that is concerned for interactions between computer programs and human natural language. And the point is to be able to create fruitful results out of English language or natural language. I'm not going to specify it only to English. It's really NLP. It can be a transformation of any language into machine instructions. NLP is also an emerging technology as one of the most highly utilized technologies nowadays in the broader field of artificial intelligence. And why is it important? If the need for NLP, as it's becoming the trend of technology today, 10 or 15 years ago, we had the .com boom in the world, and having web applications was the trend, and it would put you very many steps ahead of your competitors if you have a web application. And then 7 years after that, we had the smartphones. And then if you have a mobile app for your business, that would put you, again, several steps ahead of your competitors. Now, they are not the cutting edge technology nowadays, although they are still effective, but they are not the cutting edge technology. Nowadays, the real trending thing is the NLP, and which is again under the umbrella of artificial intelligence. And deploying or being an adopter of NLP at this stage is very important, as again it puts you ahead of competitors, since NLP will be really very popular several years from now, which is something I'm going to cover in the next slide. So what I can accomplish with it, really any perspective or view of your data or anything that you can write as a programming language, you can also accomplish it through natural language. So it's really the translation of natural language, which in most of the cases is English language, into machine language. And we don't have to do anything other than either type or talk. So you don't have to fill the boring forms where we have too many drop-down lists and check boxes and radio buttons, and you have to choose this and that, and then at the end you press submit. You don't have to do all of that. All of this can be done through natural language. So that's the idea of NLP. A study done by Tractica on the revenues generated by NLP software, hardware, and services. In 2017, nowadays, we're the total of the global market is not even reaching half a billion. It's under $500 million, and it's growing. 2024, which is just 7 years from now, you will note that it will hit $2.1 billion as a total, and that's only in 7 years. And you can note that in 2017 we're less than $500 million, and in 2020 or between 20 and 21, it's gonna double. That's in like 3 years it's gonna double, and then again it will take probably 4 years to double on top of that. And an interesting thing here is that if you look at the blue color, which is North America, and Asia Pacific, which is the violet, then you will notice that right now they're equal. In 2024, the Asia Pacific will be even more in revenues of using NLP from North America. So moving to data sources, and again, let me know if you have any questions during the presentation. You don't have to wait till the end if there's anything not clear. So the data sources, and probably you're asking yourselves right now, does this work for me? Can it be integrated with my system? And the short answer is yes. And the long answer is that the platform can integrate with several data sources or database management systems, even with non-DBMS systems. So the ones that support are MySQL, MS SQL from Microsoft, Oracle, PostgreSQL, Redshift, SQLite, and spreadsheets. And spreadsheets will give you also the ability to integrate with any other system. And it doesn't have to be one spreadsheet. It can be just a representation of your database in spreadsheets, and then you create all the connections and data integrity. So again, the way it connects with databases is something that I will show also in few. We give access to the platform, to the engine, to our database, and it sees the structure, and we define a few things. Implementing it is a matter of few hours. To define few things as connections between tables, if there's anything necessary we need to define. In general, it does 80% of the job right away, and then we need to fine tune it just to get the missing 20%. And after granting it access to the database, then we, in our application, we add a text box that's really very transparent to the user. The user doesn't even know there's an NLP engine running there. It's just a text box like any other text box. And anything provided or typed in that text box is sent to the NLP, and a result is returned. So it's really very transparent. You don't have to see a window inside your application that's the NLP engine. You don't have to see any of that. It's just all transparent. You have a text box within your layout, within your look and feel, and it does everything on the back end. I will move to the demo part because it will make things clear. And this is...
Hi, Shadi. This is Gaurav. I have a quick question.
Yes.
Shadi, amongst the databases that we've listed here, I don't see MongoDB, and most of the people that we've hired so far in India office for, some of our clients, we usually ask if they work on MongoDB or not. So I'm assuming that, would it be compatible with MongoDB as well?
Yes, it's really compatible with anything because there are connectors that you can add to the platform to any database management system. Even if you create one today, you can add a connector to it just by installing some drivers, and then it will create this connection and it will do the rest. So it supports both the structured and unstructured database.
Perfect. Thank you, Shadi.
Sure, no problem. So again, I'm going to present it as an action. This is the administration portal of the engine. This is something that your clients will not see. It's your management portal, and really this text box up there is what you need to put in your application. Wherever you want in your application, you're not bound to any specific location or size or anything. Just put a text box there, and it will behave the same as this text box. So I'm going to use this text box to do the demo, but the same thing can happen in your application. The first thing that I want to cover is data sources. And when you go into data sources, you will see that you can add a data source, and you can have a spreadsheet or database. I'm going to choose the database part, and then you have to choose the type of database that you have. Again, all the connections that are supported are not listed there because we need to add the drivers, but it supports them, but it's not right now showing them in this dropdown. So we choose any database that you want. I'm going to choose the MySQL, and then you define the host, where you're hosting your database, the port, username, password, and the database name, and you test the connection it gives you, it succeeds. You also give it a name that you can identify with, and you just introduce the engine to your database, and that's 80% of the job. It can already see the engine, it can run queries on the engine, it can see the structure, it can do most of the part. Again, there are just fine-tuning things that I will go over now to show you what it can do there. So we have two, this is the support one. We have two really menus that you will use. You'll use the workspace, which is the one that is the playground. It's the one that you will use to test things and try things out. And you will also use the configuration where you can configure things and add synonyms, for example, or add verbs, or which are things I'm going to cover in a few. Now, two things will, two questions will pop up here regarding security. So we just granted access to this platform, to our database. So what if we have confidential data there? So confidential data is of two parts. Either the tables in the database, you have tables that are confidential, or you have columns within tables that are confidential. So you don't want to have the table as all confidential, you just want few columns to be confidential. And both are supported here. The table approach, where you need to make a whole table as confidential or as hidden, and then here you'll have all tables, and you can just include the ones that you want for the query tables. So neither query will query them, nor the results will show up. So anyone running natural sentences in this text box will not see the table, will not be even able to query the tables. And the other part is when you want to hide columns from tables that you want to use the tables, but not those specific columns. And this is something that, I don't want to rush into this page, which I will cover thoroughly, but here you can uncheck the return checkbox for any column that you want, and it will not return anymore. So before I go into the details of the configuration, let's stay around and run some queries and some sentences that will show the power of this engine. So the first and trivial things I will run is show employee. And what I really did, these are the employees. What I really did is create a demo database that has employees here. It has 9 employees, and it also has jobs in another table because I want to show also the connection between tables. So, and the tables, they have the ID as a primary key. They also have the first name, last name, date of birth, department, salary, city, country, and performance. That's the annual performance of the employee. So the first query that I ran, which is the simplest query, I said, show employees, like just show everything. And you will notice that I have 9 rows returned. I have all the fields that I want here. And we can also sort ascendingly and descendingly, and also hide a column. And this is really the simplest form of running queries. And I'm going to add more into this. For example, and by the way, it has the autocomplete functionality where it, just as in Google, it tries to suggest so that you write the best sentence that can be interpreted. So I distributed the employees on several countries, all in the US, but in several countries. So notice that I have Dallas here and also Dallas there, and I have one Boston. So let me show employees in Dallas, user city Dallas. It will find me two employees. So this has a drill down functionality or drill down feature. So when I press on the number, I will see the employee, so I can get their count, and as well I can get their details. Now, let's say, for example, Boston. And again, I will find just that employee in Boston. So let's add more into this sentence. So what I can say is, instead of show employees in Dallas, I can say show Dallas employees. And this will directly find me the two guys in Dallas. In fact, I can take it more into, instead of just limiting it into a certain city, I'm going to use a department. So show sales employees. And it will get me those with the user department as sales. So although I didn't really say that the city is Dallas and now the department is sales, I just said show Dallas employees and show sales employees. It was able automatically to detect that Dallas is a city and sales is a department. So I just replaced the word without any different syntax in the sentence, and it was able to detect the difference between a department and a city. So let's now say show employees per department. So here it shows me all the departments that I have with the number of employees in each department. And it really found the departments and grouped, or found the employees, grouped them by department. Again, we have the drill down functionality here. When I go into technology and I press on this link, I'll find these two people that I have in technology. So it showed the number of employees, or the employees and the department as well. So let's say, for example, since I have a date of birth, and it's really called DOB, and even if it's really full, it's not an acronym, it would be date of birth. So there's no mention of the word born there. It's birth. So what I'm going to do is show employees born after 1980. And it will automatically find those employees that were born after 1980. And I can also do the before 1980 or at 1980. So, but you can notice that it gets me the 84, then 81, then 82. It's not really sorted the way I like it to be. So I'm going to add sort by date of birth, descending. And you'll note that it started with 88 all the way down to 81, or I can do it really ascendingly. It does it from 81 to 88. So I can do all these manipulations with this sentence and add more into the grid. Also, there's I joined with another table, and probably it's the right time now to go to the configuration after we played around here. We're gonna come back to this and do more sentences, but let me go now to the configuration and show how things are done. So I have two tables in my my demo database, and here I have a drop down of the tables. Or in fact, I have two tables that I included because just to remind you, in the select table, I can have 100 tables, but I just included two. So I will be able to configure only these two tables. So I'll go back to the edit tables, and you'll notice that I have those two tables here, the job and the user. And one of them should be a main topic. So I'm looking for employees in cities, in departments. So this will be a main topic. I check this checkbox here. And also I define, so sometimes I can use the word user because it's called user, but I want also to use the word employee. So I create a name for the topic, employee, and the plural is employees. And again, the synonym is user. And here I will see all the fields in that table. So it's really for you who have technical background, if you're familiar with PHP My Admin, for example, it's similar thing where you can manage your database and see the columns all from an interface. So here it lists all the columns that I have in the table, and it automatically detects the key, the hidden. It's all detected from the database since I introduced the engine to the database. The important thing that I want to cover, and this is also the return that I mentioned, if you uncheck it, it will not show up in the return value anymore. A few things that I want to cover, which are very interesting things in the extra column, which is where you do the fine tuning for each column. So for the user ID, I'm going to press on this, and it automatically showed me a connection with another table. The destination table is the job. This is my database name and job table. The destination field, and how I want to create the connection and the relation, if it's one-to-many or one-to-one, and then the remaining fields where I can define synonyms for this connection and what values to return. So after creating this connection, I was able to group both tables, the job and the user, by creating this from the interface here. So this is something, and it shows here the connection. I'm going to go over other things as well. So the user department, it has synonyms and topic prefix. So when I go here into the synonyms, and it will show in different color, in a green color. So I use the synonym in. So instead of saying show users department sales, I say show users in sales. So it will automatically know that in is a synonym for department. So I don't have to say in department sales, I just say in sales. Or I can say working in sales or any other synonym. So this is something I defined here. And also, but again, you don't have to define it, just to add better user experience. And I also added a topic prefix, which is you ask the engine to fetch all, I'm looking here at the department column. I ask it to fetch all departments in the system, and they become a topic prefix. So I say show sales employees. So it becomes a prefix. I don't have to say show employees in sales department. I can do that, but when I define it as a prefix, I can add it before the word employees. I can say show sales employees, or show HR employees, or any other value. So I covered so far the connection, which is to create a connection between a table and the other. A synonym where you can replace a word, in this case department, I replaced it with in, and also a topic prefix, which just takes all values in the department field, and you can put them before the word employees or users and just say show HR users. So those are things, two things that, or three things that I covered. And also I have, here we have also the synonyms, topic prefix, synonyms, and values. So if you notice, I'm going to go to the values. If you notice in our database, we have a column called user performance. And this column has values. We have 3, 4, 5, and 2. So it's a scale from 1 to 5, and we have few employees in 2, 3, 4, and 5. So in my configuration, I created a value, and I said high performer have the values of 4 and 5, and low performers have the value of 1, 2, and 3. So when I go back to my workspace to try things out, I'm going to type show high performers. And it found 4 people, and those 4 people are this 4, 5, 4, and 4. So users with scores 4 or 5 are high performers. And if I say show low performers, it will show me the rest, which are the 5, and the total is 9. So I don't have to say what is the score. I can just define a certain field set as the 4 and 5 scores are high performers, and less than 4 are low performers. This is also helpful when you have, for example, a job, and you have different status of jobs. You have status 1, which is open, status 2 on hold, status 3 closed, status 4 status 4 awaiting approval or something like that. So you can define these values in the values configuration, and you don't have to say show jobs with status 1. You can say show jobs with status open. And even if you add the prefix, you can say show open jobs. And it will, again, like show sales employees, you can say show open jobs, and it will automatically find all the open jobs there. So again, this is an impressive feature where you can define the values there and give names for a set of values. Also, to play around here, let's try some aggregate functions. So we have a column here called salary. Oh, oops, 1 second. This time out the database. Okay, I have my NLP. Okay, this is it. I have here my my salary field. So each employee has a salary. So let's run some aggregate functions on these salaries. So I'm going to say show minimum salary. And it will find that Kevin Davis has a salary of 71K, and this is the minimum salary. So I'm going to find the maximum salary, but I'm not going to type max. I'm going to type maximum. Responds that Andy has a salary of 120K. So let me also find the average salary, but I'm going to type average, but I'll remove the word show. So I'll just say average salary. That's my sentence. And it will automatically find the average salary. It has a drill down functionality where when I press on this, I will be able to see all the salaries there. In fact, it shows me also the average and the summation of all of them. So we just looked at average salary. Let's see average salary in technology. It will automatically find the average salary in technology. I can also find the minimum salary in technology. And so I can do all these aggregations. Of course, technology it automatically detected that technology is a department. I can also use countries here. I can use cities, show average salary in the States, in Europe, and so I can define any set I want, and this runs all these aggregate functions. I'll also show the way I joined with another table in the configuration when we created a connection and the foreign key connection. So I'm going to run something that will run on 2 tables. So I'm going to type show users having jobs. So I just created this connection in my sentence. Show users having jobs with job code. It's automatically auto-completed containing senior and containing junior. So containing senior, it automatically finds it. The person who has a job, here it shows me 1 under the job, which is a drill down. It's tech senior. So we can have as many tables as we want. We create the connections, and it's really a one-time thing. Now, definitely during the development life cycle, few things change. If it's not affecting the structure of table, we don't have to change anything. But if we created a new table and we want it included in our search, then we have to create the two foreign keys here, from and to, and even from. We don't have to make it a two-way road. It's just to create from and to, and it creates all of that. And the interesting thing is that the sentence that you write here, you have the option either to return the result. So just as it's returning results here, you can add this into your application, and just add the text box and add a container, and whatever you write in the text box, the results will appear. That's very easy and very quick to do. The more complicated thing is to have the engine return SQL query instead of returning results. And then you may need to add more criteria on top of the SQL query. And here you can see show the SQL query, and it shows you this is what it will return to you, and then you can add on top of it. So you have both approaches to do. And also let me cover one last thing. In the configuration, you can see all the columns of a certain table. Again, I can change really the table here, and it will change the all the configurations, but I'm going to go into the user table. And down here, I put index on 3 columns, which are department, the city, and the country. This index is different than the database index that is used to speed up queries. This index is for the engine to know that these words can be in autocomplete. So when I say user department, this is indexed. When I say show users in department or in, okay, here it auto-completed this. It showed technology, sales, HR, marketing. These are not words that are predefined. These are words that are fetched from the database, from that specific column, because it's an index column. So if I add another department into my database, it will automatically show up here in the autocomplete. I don't have to go into a page where departments are defined and I add a new definition for a new name, and then it shows up here. I don't have to do all of that. It will automatically pick it up. Once a new value is added into the database, it will automatically show up here in the autocomplete. So those are all the points that I have to cover, just to go over the things. Again, as a reminder, we have the data sources where you can add a spreadsheet or spreadsheets, and they can be Excel, CSV, or multiple files. A database where you can create the connection with any database that you want. Again, just set the right configurations, right port, test the connection. It works. Most of the job is done. Going to the workspace, this text box, you need to add it into your application and create the API code to the engine. So whatever the user types in your application will be sent to the NLP engine. So you don't have to embed the engine in your application as an iframe, for example. It's just a text box. And also, you have the configurations where you define, you have the tables that you included. You define any foreign key relation, any synonym, any prefix, or any value. This one we used for the performance, for high performers and low performers. Also, we have the select tables where you can include only the tables you want to be queried. You don't want to include all tables in your database. And even if a table is included and you want to exclude a certain column out of it, just uncheck the return. And this is an administration portal where you can try things out. And if everything's good, it just works. So whatever you do here, and you change a certain, for example, add a synonym for a certain, say here, city or country. Once you add a synonym, or for example, somewhere I added the born, date of birth. So, or here, really, I added here in birth, I added the born, so that it looks at date of birth. Then it will automatically be picked up. So all you have to do is just change it here and it works. So you don't really have to do any kind of compilation or move code from one server to another and deploy it and do deployment testing or anything. Just change it here and it's done. So that's a brief of the main functionality of the engine. It has a lot of features that you will use as you start using the portal, but they are of low usage and low frequency to use them. So I didn't go into every single button and every single feature, but I wanted to cover the main things that were really in a matter of, I mean, just to show here, I added the verb born, and where's that? For the input configure, I also added a connection, and here I added the prefix just so that it becomes a better user experience. And in a matter of few minutes, that's all what you have to do. So it's not really complicated to introduce databases or define any configurations. It's a matter of few clicks here and there. It doesn't need to write any line of code here in the portal. Definitely in your application, you need to call the API, but here you don't need to do any queries as writing them as SQL. You just have to define few things here and there, and it's up and running. So any question at this point?
Hi, Shadi.
No,
this
not
is
so
Gaurav.
far.
Yes.
Shadi, this is Gaurav. I have a quick question.
Yes,
I like all the features, and thank you for a great demo. It covers almost everything. Looking at the employee database, an HR manager or management person would seek for either it is age-wise, department-wise, salary, performance, customizations, putting synonyms. So it covers almost everything, which is a great thing. I just have a question about one of the aspects that, for example, if we introduce this product to an HR, a company who wants to use it, on their HR database, and the HR resources in the HR department would have access to this. So my question is that sometimes some of the ratings or some of the salaries you would want to keep hidden. I understand that you can hide a particular column or not include or keep it as hidden, but can you assign these kind of things at the login level? So if you are the HR head, maybe you want to see those. However, the login that you've created for your team members, you don't want them to see the salaries of people who are maybe senior to them, for example. Can the customizations be within your login, or can an admin assign different rights to different resources who are using this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Gary. So there are two answers for this. Yes, it's possible in two ways. The first way is to have the SQL returned your way instead of having results directly returned. You can have the SQL returned, and then you can see if that person running the query can or has the permission to do that. And then you can decide, looking at your access levels within your application to see if that's an allowed action or not. And the second thing is to create another copy of this, so you duplicate this. I call this NLP. Then these are the data sources here. I'm not sure if it shows up here. So these are the data sources that we have. So you can duplicate a data source, and from the second data source, you can call it NLP demo employee. Uncheck the return from that, but that would be really a more easier but more complicated on the long run, since if you do any different configuration changes on one, you have to do it on the second. But the most easy one is to get the SQL query, and then just some if conditions in your code, check if this person is allowed to run that query or not.
I understand. Yeah, thank you very much, Adi.
Sure, no problem. And in fact, you just reminded me of something important. We have skip words. And skip words, you can just, I'm sorry, I clicked you. So skip words, you can just add words that you just want to skip. You don't want them to be used. And this is also a functionality here in the configurations.
Perfect.
Other questions?
Yeah, just one more thing. Is there any documentation on this that you guys could send our way so we could take a closer look at it?
Yes. Yes, there is. I'll send it to you right after the call.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
But who's that? Is it Sean?
Yeah, Sean. So this is definitely really helpful. Thank you for kind of going through, going through the interface and definitely the back-end configuration. That really gave us a nice oversight, on how the underneath of this works. Is there anything on the work? So this looks like it's mainly querying off of relational databases, and that looks to be the way that it's set up. Has there been any thought or any consideration to supporting Solr or Elasticsearch?
It supports NoSQL databases. I have not tried it with NoSQL DBs, really. I tried it with structured databases, but it does support that. I read it in their documentation that they support that functionality, but I haven't really tried it myself. So when I send you the documentation, it's really clear documentation. So it's very helpful. I found it really easy to read. So you can go through that part about the NoSQL databases, and you can see if if it answers your questions. If not, then I can get you answers.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely something we'll take a look at. Our users typically never interact with our relational data store directly. We kind of use Elasticsearch, of course, both as a search engine, but also as a front-end cache of sorts. So anytime we load a profile, it kind of goes through Elasticsearch. Anytime we do anything on the candidate level, it queries Elasticsearch as well. And of course, when we actually execute searches. And so we don't expose our Postgres instance, at all, outside of the, outside of that specific subnet. And so, anything that quote unquote plays nice with the NoSQL store like Elastic would be of great interest to us. But the tool overall is very interesting. I definitely see an application here to our space. Whether it's leveraged in something like a chatbot, something like a Slack bot that we use, that we may offer one day, or even through our search interface. Rajan, one of the young gentlemen that you all hired for us, he one of his newest designs kind of has a hero text box, so to speak. So that in the search interface, there's a single text box that's kind of the main feature of the page, and I could see something like that, working really, working seamlessly with a feature like this, where the user can just go in and just, type a natural human language query, and interact with our with our candidates that way. So, please send over the documentation, and thank you for the demo. This was great, and I look forward to taking a closer look at it.
Okay, that's great, Sean. Sure, I'll send you the documentation right after the call.
All right. Well, you know, it was nice. It's nice hearing from you guys. Gaurav, I will touch base with you a little bit later.
Sure.
And Ahmad, I hope you have a good day. Hope Texas is treating you well, and I'll speak to you guys soon.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.